In a quiet coastal town, a woman named Liana Harper lived a life that looked very different from most people around her. She was 35, calm, thoughtful, and deeply committed to raising her children in what she believed was the most natural way possible. Liana had 2 daughters. The older one, Mia, had just turned 4. The younger, Eliza, was not even 2 yet. Their days were filled with soft routines, homeschool lessons by the window, long walks near the ocean, and evenings full of storytelling instead of screens. But there was one part of Liana's life that made people stop, stare, and sometimes judge harshly. She was still breastfeeding Mia. At first, no one outside her small circle really knew. It was just part of their private routine. Mia didn't even ask for it often anymore. Sometimes once a day, sometimes not for several days at all. "It's her choice," Liana would quietly say to close friends. "I'm just following her lead." But everything changed the day she decided to share her life online. Liana had recently started posting on social media under the name @earthy_mother_life. Her videos were soft, peaceful glimpses into her parenting style. Natural births, gentle routines, homemade meals, and slow living. At first, people loved it. Her follower count grew quickly. Thousands of people found comfort in her calm voice and her honest way of speaking. But then, one video changed everything. It was a simple clip, nothing dramatic. Mia sat beside her, sleepy and quiet, resting her head on Liana's shoulder. For a few moments, she nursed, calmly, briefly, and then went back to playing. To Liana, it was just another normal moment. To the internet, it was explosive. Within hours, the comments flooded in. Some were supportive. "This is beautiful. Thank you for normalizing this. You're such a strong mom." But others were harsh, very harsh. "This is wrong. She's too old for that. This is inappropriate." And then came the worst kind, the ones that questioned Liana's intentions as a mother. At first, she tried to ignore it. She told herself people just don't understand. But as the messages kept coming, day after day, it became harder to stay calm. Even people she knew in real life began to whisper. At the local market, conversations would stop when she walked by. At the park, other parents would watch her differently. It was no longer just an online debate. It was personal. One evening, after putting both girls to sleep, Liana sat alone in her kitchen. The house was silent, but her mind wasn't. She replayed the comments over and over again. "Am I doing something wrong?" she whispered to herself. For the first time, doubt crept in. But Liana wasn't someone who made decisions lightly. Years earlier, before Mia was even born, she had spent months reading, researching, and learning about parenting across different cultures. She remembered something that had shocked her back then. In many parts of the world, and throughout human history, children were breastfed far longer than what modern Western society considered normal. 3 years, 4 years, sometimes even more. It wasn't strange. It was simply different. That knowledge had shaped her beliefs deeply. But now, faced with so much criticism, she wondered if knowledge was enough. The next day, she made a decision. Instead of staying silent, she would speak. She sat in front of her camera, took a deep breath, and pressed record. Her voice was steady, but you could feel the emotion behind it. "I know not everyone agrees with me," she began. "And that's okay. But I want to explain why I made this choice." She talked about her journey, how she once believed breastfeeding should stop early, just like most people around her. Then she explained how learning about biology and history changed her perspective. "This isn't about me," she said firmly. "If you've ever breastfed, you know, it's not something you do for yourself." Her video spread even faster than the first one. But this time, something was different. People weren't just reacting, they were listening. Liana explained that with Mia, breastfeeding had become something very small, almost symbolic. "Some days she doesn't even ask," she said. "And when she does, it's just for a moment. It's calm, it's quiet, and then she moves on." With her younger daughter, Eliza, it was completely different. "She still feeds many times a day," Liana explained. "That's normal for her age. It comforts her, helps her through growth, teething, everything." But the most powerful part of her message wasn't about nutrition. It was about emotions. "At this age," she said about Mia, "it's not really about milk anymore. It's about connection." She described those moments as a kind of reset, a way for a child to calm down, feel safe, and reconnect. "It's like how adults have their own comfort habits," she added softly. "This is hers." For a while, it seemed like things were calming down. More supportive voices began to appear. Parents shared their own experiences. Some admitted they had been afraid to talk about extended breastfeeding before. "You gave me courage," one comment read. But not everyone changed their mind. And that's when the real tension began. One afternoon, while Liana was at a small cafe with her daughters, something unexpected happened. A woman from a nearby table approached her. At first, she smiled politely, but then her tone shifted. "I recognize you," she said. Liana felt her chest tighten. "I've seen your videos," the woman continued, "and I just have to say, I don't think what you're doing is right." The cafe grew quiet. People nearby started listening. For a moment, Liana said nothing. She could feel every eye in the room on her. Mia sat beside her, unaware of the tension. Eliza played with a spoon on the table. Then Liana took a slow breath. "I understand that you feel that way," she said gently, "but this is what works for my family." The woman shook her head. "That child is too old," she insisted. There was a long pause. And in that moment, Liana had a choice. She could argue, or she could stand her ground calmly. She chose calm. "We all parent differently," she said quietly, "and that's okay." The woman didn't reply. She simply walked away. But the moment stayed with Liana. It wasn't just about opinions anymore. It was about how far people were willing to go to judge someone else's choices. That night, Liana sat with Mia before bed. Her daughter looked up at her with sleepy eyes. "Mama?" Mia whispered. "Are you sad?" Liana felt her heart sink. "Why do you ask?" she said softly. "You look different," Mia replied. In that moment, everything became clear. This wasn't just about defending her choices to strangers. It was about protecting the peace of her children. Liana smiled gently and kissed Mia's forehead. "I'm okay," she said. "Everything is okay." But deep inside, she knew things were changing. The world was watching her now, judging her, questioning her. And this was only the beginning. If you've made it this far, take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us bring more real and powerful stories like this to you. Because what happens next in Liana's journey will challenge even more beliefs and reveal just how strong a mother can be when the whole world is against her. And trust me, you won't want to miss it. The next morning felt different. Not quieter, not easier, just heavier. Liana woke up before sunrise, something she hadn't done in a long time. The house was still, her daughters asleep. The sky outside painted in soft shades of gray. but her mind was already racing. The cafe incident kept replaying in her head. The looks, the silence, the tension in the air. It all felt like a warning. This wasn't just online anymore. This was real life. She walked into the kitchen, made herself a cup of tea, and stood by the window. For the first time since sharing her story, she felt tired. Not physically, emotionally. Is it worth it? She whispered to herself. But before that thought could grow, she heard small footsteps behind her. Mama? It was Mia, her hair messy, her eyes still half asleep. Liana turned, instantly softening. Hey, my love, she said, kneeling down. Mia wrapped her arms around her neck, and in that simple hug, everything slowed down. That was the moment Liana realized something important. No common, no stranger, no opinion could replace this connection. This was real. This was hers. But the world outside wasn't going to stay quiet. And by midday, things escalated. Liana's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Messages, tags, comments, hundreds, then thousands. A large parenting page had reposted her video, but not in a supportive way. The caption read, "Is this empowerment, or has it gone too far?" That one sentence lit a fire. People flooded into her page again, this time louder, harsher, more divided than ever before. Some defended her fiercely, others attacked with even stronger words. And then came something new. Media requests. Emails started appearing in her inbox. Interviews, podcasts, articles. Everyone wanted her story, but not everyone wanted to understand it. Some just wanted controversy. Liana sat at her table, scrolling through the messages, her hands slightly shaking. This was bigger than she ever imagined. She wasn't just a mother sharing her life anymore. She had become a topic, a debate. That afternoon, her partner Daniel came home earlier than usual. He found her sitting quietly, staring at her phone. "You've seen it?" he asked gently. She nodded. "I didn't think it would get this far," she said. Daniel sat beside her. "You don't have to keep doing this," he said. "We can step back." That option hung in the air. Step back, disappear, go back to their quiet life. For a moment, it was tempting, very tempting. But then Mia's laughter echoed from the other room. Eliza babbled happily behind her. Life was still happening. Their life. Liana looked up. "If I stop now," she said slowly, "it won't be because I changed my mind." Daniel watched her closely. "It'll be because I was pushed into silence." The room went quiet, and Daniel nodded. "I understand," he said. That night, Liana made another decision. She would speak again, but this time she would go deeper. She set up her camera once more. No filters, no soft music, just her, real, honest, unshaken. "I've heard everything," she began. "The support, the criticism, the concern." She paused. "And I want to say something clearly. This is not about convincing everyone to agree with me." Her voice was calm, but stronger than before. "This is about allowing different choices to exist without shame." She talked about how parenting isn't one size fits all, how culture shapes what we see as normal, how quickly people judge what they don't understand. Then she shared something more personal. "There were moments," she admitted, "when I started to doubt myself." That honesty surprised many. I'm human, she said softly. Of course I felt it. But then I look at my children. Her voice warmed. I see their confidence, their calmness, their trust. And I remember why I chose this path. The video was powerful, not defensive, not angry, just grounded. And something shifted again. A new wave of responses came in, not louder, but deeper. Parents began sharing stories they had never spoken about before. Mothers who had quietly breastfed longer than expected. Fathers who supported unconventional parenting choices. People who said, I don't do this, but I respect it. Even some critics softened. Not all, but enough to make a difference. Days passed, then weeks. The noise slowly settled. Not completely, but enough for life to feel normal again. And something interesting started to happen. Mia began asking less, then even less, until one day, she didn't ask at all. Liana noticed it quietly. No big announcement, no dramatic ending, just a gentle shift. One evening, as they sat together reading a book, Liana looked at her daughter. Mia, she said softly, do you still want milk sometimes? Mia shook her head. I'm okay, she said with a small smile. That was it. No tears, no struggle, just readiness. Liana felt a mix of emotions rise in her chest. Pride, relief, and a little sadness. This is what I meant, she later shared in another video. When I said it would happen naturally. Her journey, so questioned, so debated, had come to its own quiet conclusion. Not because of pressure, not because of timelines, but because her child was ready. And in that moment, everything made sense. Looking back, Liana realized something powerful. The hardest part wasn't the choice she made. It was standing by that choice when the world pushed back. But she also learned something even deeper. People don't always fear what's wrong. Sometimes they fear what's unfamiliar. And unfamiliar doesn't mean incorrect. It just means different. Liana still shares her life online, still calm, still intentional. But now, there's something new in her voice. Not just confidence, wisdom. Because she's lived through the judgment, faced the doubt, and come out the other side stronger. And if there's one thing her story leaves behind, it's this. There is no single right way to raise a child. There is only what is thoughtful, informed, and rooted in love. So before judging someone else's path, pause. Because behind every choice, there's a story you might not fully see. And sometimes, the bravest thing a parent can do is simply trust themselves. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends.